So, good evening. We will start with a short breathing exercise to quiet our mind for a moment, followed by generating good intention, motivation for breathing. Then we can reflect and contemplate, that as long as we have this selfish attitude, the egoistic mind, there will always be conflict, no matter what. We can feel easily hurt by even the very small things. And it's because of our egoistic mind. And due to that egoistic mind, when our mind is hurt, and we started to feel negative, and we started to dislike, frustrate, and eventually anger and hatred if we don't take care of our mind. Through that we create conflict. We create the problem more bigger, make it more bigger. Creating suffering, miserable for ourselves as well as for others. On the other hand, if we don't have that egoistic mind attitude, even when people does not react in a nice way, best way, still will not be so much hurt. If our mind is not hurt, then we become less negative. Then other negative emotions will not arise on the basis of feeling very hurt. Thereby we don't have to suffer so much. Thereby we don't make the problem bigger. So therefore reducing and overcoming the egoistic, selfish attitude is key to have less conflict, more peaceful mind, more calm mind. As well as to actualize our highest potential, the fully awakened state. In order to reduce and overcome that egoistic mind and selfish attitude, we need to cultivate and develop the antidote, the cherishing thought for others, of loving kindness, compassion, Bodhisattva mind. And in order to actualize and fully develop those qualities, one need to meditate, practice correctly, continue. For that, we need to be reminded of those practices all the time. For that very reason that we are here to listen to the teaching that describe about the practice of the Bodhisattvas. So we can be reminded, encouraged, inspired to try more harder, to find more energy in our practice. So we can continue to grow and develop. And may our time here together become cause and conditions to actualize our greatest potential, fully awakened state of the Buddha. So we can be most benefit to oneself and all sentient beings. Sangye Chödan Sogye Chonam La Changcho Pado Tani Kyapsu Chi Dagye Shin Sogye Sonam Ki Dola Penche Sangye Yupa Shom Sangye Chödan Sogye Chonam La Changcho Pado Tani Kyapsu Chi Dagye Shin Sogye Sonam Ki Dola Penche Sangye Yupa Shom Sangye Chödan Sogye Chonam La Changcho Pado Tani Kyapsu Chi Dagye Shin Sogye Sonam Ki Dola Penche Sangye Yupa Shom. So, as I mentioned, on the Tuesday evenings, after cultivating Bodhisattva mind, or after being inspired to have inspiration to cultivate the Bodhisattva mind, and on the basis of that, aspire to take the Bodhisattva's vows. Take the Bodhisattva vows, then we need to engage in the preliminary practice of those 8 practices, 7 limb practices together with the refuge as a preliminary. For someone who has, already actualized the Bodhisattva mind, then by taking the Bodhisattva vows, so they can kind of stabilize it, so they can maintain it instead of deteriorating. And for like us, even though we don't have Bodhisattva mind, but at least we have the inspiration to develop Bodhisattva mind, and as a way to as a tool, as a method to develop the Bodhisattva mind, then being inspired to take the Bodhisattva's vows and then trying to live according to the Bodhisattva's vows as much as possible. And with that, eventually we will be able to cultivate the Bodhisattva mind as well. And so for that, also taking the 7 limb practice and refuge as a preliminary prerequisite. Also, we talk about in order to achieve full enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, including oneself, in order to fulfill the purpose of oneself and purpose for others, we need to create an incredible amount of merit and purify all the obscurations. And the 7 limb practices is a way to purify all the negative karma, all the obscurations, and a way to accumulate the merit. And that being the case, so in chapter 2 and 3, Shantideva explains that. And so if you go to chapter, and again, as I mentioned before, we have to remember, all the time, the purpose of studying, the purpose of meditating, the purpose of practicing is to subdue our mind. And subdue our mind means, reducing, minimizing, and eventually overcome all those destructive negative emotions. As we just mentioned, selfish attitude, that egoistic mind, as well as attachments, anger, ignorance, and so forth. How to reduce, using that to reduce that. That is the purpose of meditation, that purpose of practice, that purpose of studying them. And so we use the Dharma teaching as a way, like a mirror, looking like when you have something in your face. You use the mirror to find out where you need to hit, you need to treat and heal that. In the same way, we use the teaching as a mirror to understand our own shortcoming, our own defect, our own faults, and then through that understanding, and then how using that to improve, and get better from those shortcomings, faults, defect, and increasing, improving those positive state of minds, loving kindness, compassion, watch the mind, patience or tolerance, wisdom, sense of contentment, and so forth. And so and also we have to remember, there is the great Domdemba, the main disciple of Adisha Divankara. He said, when I study, I reflect and I contemplate. When I reflect, I study and I contemplate. When I contemplate, I study and I reflect. So trying to bring all those aspects in every aspect of those different activities, such as studying, reflecting, contemplating that, and so trying to bring that all. And so in chapter 2, it is a confession of the negative karma or negative or non-virtuous actions. So here, the first verse, in order to adapt the jewel of the mind, I make offering to the Tathagata, to the stainless jewel of the sublime Dharma, and to the children of the Buddha, who are oceans with excellent qualities. So, in order to achieve fully enlightenment for the benefit of oneself and all sentient beings, we need to engage in both the path and the bhumis, and through the practice of 6 perfections or 10 perfections, and 4 means of gathering, having sentient beings. And also we need to create incredible amount of merit. And so in order to create those causing conditions, then one powerful way of doing it is making offerings to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, the holy objects such as Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So with the intention of Bodhisattva mind, with the intention of Bodhisattva mind, in order to achieve fully enlightenment for the all sentient beings, then one try to make offering to all the Tathagatas or all the Buddhas of the 10 directions or 10 times, to the stainless jewel of sublime Dharma, especially the ultimate Dharma of the cessations and the path, that exalted wisdom, as well as the scriptural Dharma, that explain how to cultivate that cessation, the path, that wisdom. Also make an offering to them and the children of Buddha, the Sangha, the Arya Sangha of the Bodhisattvas, and who are the ocean to explain qualities by recollecting incredible, countless oceans of excellent qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So by reflecting, contemplating all this incredible quality of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and then we make those offerings. So that way. And then Shantideva goes very specifically many different kind of offerings, First starting with the offering that are more like a public, is not kind of offering that are not that doesn't belong to any kind of private, but it's more kind of public, where it belongs to everyone. So first offering of those. So here is as many flowers, fruit, and medicinal herb as there are, and as many jewels as there are in the world, and clear and pleasant waters, jewel mountains, forest regions, and other delightful and solitary places, vines shining with the ornament of lovely flowers, and the tree with the branches bow with the delicious fruit, fragrances, whether it's natural fragrances or made by human beings, or incenses, wishful filling trees, jewel trees, lake adorned with lotus, enchanting calls of wild geese in the world of God, and other celestials. So we can imagine and think of like a place like a pure land. Imagine that and making offering of the pure land with all that kind of incredible. Or we can think of all the beautiful places that you have visited, you have seen it, you have heard it, all these beautiful places with all this incredible beautiness that we can think, and then we try to make offering to it. Then uncultivated crops, planted crops, and other things that ornament the venerable ones, all those that are unowned and that extend throughout space. So making all offerings that is more kind of common. So so the offering, the practice of offering, or the practice of generosity shouldn't be limited by material wealth. Even you don't have material wealth to offer or to practice generosity, that shouldn't limit one to practice offerings of generosity, and it's training your mind. So in here, even you don't have external things to offer, still with your mind you can imagine and you can visualize, and you can create. You can be a very creative imaginaries, and can think of all the beautiful offerings that you can imagine, and then make offerings with a total joyfulness, with total delight. And so, as Shantideva explained, even you don't have any material things to give, but by training your mind, you can still perfect and complete the practice of generosity. The perfecting or completing of practice with generosity doesn't depend on giving external objects. Of course, if you have to offer and give, of course you should. But even if you don't have, someone can also perfect. And so that is where it is. And when we make offerings, you offer, you can imagine a whole space filled with all these kind of different offerings. And especially we can think of offering the things that we are very much attached to. Different things, objects that we're attached to. Actually making offering of them is again a training to let go of being so attached to clinging and grasping. So even though we might not be able to let it go physically at the moment, but in our mind we're learning, training to let it go. And with the training, maybe slowly, also on physical level, then we'll be able to let it go. And without being so attached, without holding tightly, so on. I bring to the mind and offer to the foremost sages together with their children. May those worthy of precious gift, greatly merciful ones, compassionate toward me, accept this from me. So here, in a way, maybe even we do not have even supposedly we do not have material things to offer, but then through imagination, through visualizations, we created this whole space filled with incredible offerings, and then we make offering to all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and then those who are extremely compassionate, who only care about others, sentient beings, and with understanding. Even though I do not have any external material things to offer, but I'm offering with my mind all this imagination. And so please accept kindly that my offerings. And so and those, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, are the most worthy of precious gifts, who have dedicated their whole life only for others. Very compassionate to each and every sentient being, unconditionally, unbiased, whether you believe in them or not, whether you praise them or whether you criticize them, whether you make offering or whether you try to take away the offering that was offered by others. From their side, they have no differences. Their love, compassion is equal to all of them. And so therefore they become the most perfect object of homage, the most perfect object of refuge, the most perfect object of worthy, and most perfect object of to make offerings. Devoid of merit and destiny, I have nothing else to offer. So due to our having no practices, generosity and so forth in the past, so therefore in this life maybe we struggle with our money-wise, finance, material things. So therefore, even though I do not have much to offer, even though I do not have a very expensive offerings, even though I do not have a great offering to offer because of not due to karma and not having created a causal condition in the past. But therefore may the protectors whose concern are for the welfare of others accept this by their own power for my sake. So even though I do not have something external to offer, better offerings or a lot of offerings, and even though it might be very small, even if it might not be the best qualities, but for you who only wish for the welfare of all sentient beings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, please be compassionate to me and please accept that. And so that's my you know, when we train, like every practices, with any practices, we start with the most small and most easy ones. We start with the most easy and small, which we can do, and then slowly trying to increase and improve those practices. So in terms of offering, maybe at the very beginning, maybe we learn with just offering water, for example, water. That I think anyone can do that. Anyone can find a water. They can make a water offering with a pure, good heart. Then not only water, slowly, maybe we might be able to offer a light with the water. Maybe a candle light, maybe an incense, maybe a flower. And then slowly, if we can make other more and more offerings, better offerings. And that's how we learn. In terms of practice on generosity, even if we can't give much at the very beginning, you know, we can learn to give even the leftover, very small leftover for some, you know, creatures. My mom used to do that. It wasn't actually leftover. At the very beginning, I think she started with leftover, but in the later part, she always keep a little bit of the rice all the time. And then she would give to the crows, go in the house and outside, spread the rice. And the crow or other birds will come. That's what she used to do until she died. But every day with the lunch, she always keeps some rice there. You know, like that. You know, like even small things like that. And then slowly, as we train our mind and learning to give more, better, if we have, of course. And so that is. And then offering yourself, you know, I completely offer my entire self to the jhanas, so referring to the jhanas and victorious, the Buddhas and their children, the Bodhisattvas. Oh, Supreme Being, accept me. I definitely devote myself to yourself. So, offering yourself, even if you do not have any external things to offer, at least we have your life that you can offer. Everyone has that, their body, their life. Even though someone might not own anything, someone like Milarepa, you know, he didn't have anything except the ball and worn out robe. But still he has his life. And so again, dedicating and making offering of your own life to them and saying, I will become a service to you. I will serve all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And to be service to them. And being service to them means doing their job, carrying out their job, their activities. Carrying out Buddha's and Bodhisattvas' activities and job is to help and benefit other sentient beings. At least not hurt and harm. And that is being service to the Buddha Dharma and for the Buddha and Bodhisattva. Being service to them means carrying out their project, their activities, their job, and their service, their activity, their job is to help and benefit other sentient beings. So that is what it means to be being service to them. You know, being free from fear of mundane existence, due to your protections, I shall serve sentient beings. I shall completely transcend my earlier vices, and henceforth I shall sin no more. So now, because I have dedicated my life to you, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, now I don't have any more fear. A lot of times we have a lot of fear because of our selfish attitudes, egoistic mind, as we mentioned, a lot of selfish attitudes. What will happen to this? What will happen to my body? What will happen to my mind? What will happen to my life? All this. Because we have strong grasping to ourselves. We have strong grasping to ourselves. And due to that strong grasping, a lot of fear arises. Now I have dedicated fully to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So therefore now it belongs to them. So then there is no more grasping, thinking is mine. And when you don't have that thinking or is mine and strong grasping of self, then you have less fear. So now without any fear, that I will try to serve the sentient beings. At the moment, I think, when we try to be service to others, when we try to be help to others, one of the reasons why we are unable to help others as much as we could, one of the reasons why we are not being able to be service to others as much as we could, because there is a lot of fear. If I give my time to others, what will happen to me? What about myself? If I share my wealth with others, what will happen to me? So there is so much fear about me, my life, my well-being, all of that. Of that fear, we are unable to be as much help, as much generosity, as much as service to others. But when we totally dedicate that, then we have no fear of that. Then we will be able to be more service, more benefit to others with less fear. And so I shall serve sentient beings, and because carrying out the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, being service to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is carrying out their activities, their project, their service, And so therefore, and not harming and hurting others. Therefore, henceforth, I shall not sin no more. So I will not engage in any negative actions, harmful actions that will bring hurt and suffering to others from now on. I shall completely transcend my early and all the negative karma, all the harmful actions, harmful, negative, non-virtuous actions that we might have created in the past due to, intentionally, unintentionally, whatever, that I will try to purify them, I will try to transform them and not create new ones anymore. And that is the way to be service. And in swiftly, so then it is offering of, again, more offerings, different offerings, more intense offerings. So the offering of bath and chamber of bath. So in swiftly fragrant bathing chambers, whose beautiful pillars are radiant with the jewels glowing canopies made of pearls and crystal floor, transparent and sparkling. So there's a bathing chamber, and then offering the bath itself. I bathe the Tathagatas and their children with many vases, stunted with the supreme jewels. With what kind of bath you offer it, and filled with pleasant, frequent flowers and water, and the bathing which has, the natural to heal, also the water has healing energy, healing powers, and so forth. You can think of that. And water to accompaniment of song and instrument music. So while offering the bath with the music, so the offering of the bath to the body and the offering of the music to the ear. And then after having offered the bath, then drying up, I dry their bodies with the scented and immaculate, exquisite clothes, and then offer them beautifully colored and sweetly fragrant garments. So after dyeing that, then offering celestial garments, and in from the garments to like the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are in the form of Nirvana, or the monks, offering the monks' robes. Those who are Sambhavakaya, then making offering them the celestial being of Sambhavakaya, sleek celestial garments, and then garments. Yeah. And Idron, Samanbhadra, Ajita, Manjugosha, Lokeshwara, and others with those divine, soft, delicate, and colorful raiment, and with those more precious of jewels. Hence, I'm making offering to the Buddhas, and such as the 8 Bodhisattvas. So here, 4 of them are giving, but others Bodhisattvas, the 8 Bodhisattvas, and so forth. And offering them this divine, soft, delicate, colorful garment, and celestial garment, where it is said, that celestial garment is in the summer, it becomes cool, in the winter it becomes warm. If it extend, it can extend the whole space. If you kind of make it small, then it becomes tiny like this. Technologically, I think we're producing that now. It's coming a little bit like that. But this, I think for the engineer to work out, it is already explained by a long time ago. Like some of the things now where, some clothes, like sleeping bag, where it can be very small, light. So basically it's telling about that kind of thing. When you expand, you can expand whole space, but when you put it, it is very tiny and very light. In winter, it is warm. In summer, it is cold. I think maybe the scientists can learn from here and try to make that and bring the celestial garment in this human world. And then more precious jewels. So those are the ornaments. And again, it says for those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are in monk's robe, then you offer, balls or other things. And for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are in Sambhavakaya, then the crown and then ear ornament, necklace, and what you call bracelets and all of that, those ornaments. You can think of that maybe. And then making offering of the perfume. With the perfume fermenting 1,000 million words, I honor the body of the Lord of Sages that are blazing with the luster of well refined, rubbed and polished gold. I worship the most glorious Lord of Sages with all wonderfully fragrant and pleasing blossom, mandala of flowers, blue lotus and others, with a splendid arranged garlands. So making incredible, all different kind of flowers, garlands of flowers or petals of flowers, and all kind of flowers that you can imagine, especially the flowers that you enjoy, you like it, you can think the whole space will fill with those flowers and making offerings. And then next, offering the flowers, of course, for the pregnant with the smell as well as looking, and for the smell, I perfume. I perfume them with enchanting clouds or incense, having a pungent, I don't know what that means, and pervasive aroma. I offer them feasts consisting of various food and drinks. So then making offering of the fragrance, incense, and then food and drink. I offer them jewel lamps mounted in rows and golden lotus, and I scatter lovely drops of blossom on the floor, anointed with the perfume. To those filled with love, I also offer brilliant multitude of the palace, so it's offering of the palace. Delight with the song of the praise, laden with garlands of the pearls and jewels, and ornament in the entrance of four directions. So we can think of like a mandala, make all incredible precious jewels and that, and so making offering of celestial palace like mandala. I bring to the mind the great stages, exquisitely beautiful jeweled parasol, perfectly raised with the golden handles, lovely shapes, and inlaid pearls. So it is a offering of the parasol. Thereafter, many delightful clouds of offering rise high, clouds of instrumental music that enrapture all sentient beings. So basically, thinking each of those offerings, whole space filled with that offerings, and making offering of that to each of them. So the offering that pleases this eye sense consciousness, the offering that pleases the ear sense consciousness with the beautiful forms, shape, colors, and beautiful sounds, music, and that pleases the nose sense consciousness with a beautiful perfume scent, food and drink that delight the tongue sense consciousness, and the warm pull and soft that delights the bodily sense consciousness, and so we can think of all of those kind of offerings and then making offerings. May the showers of flower, jewels, and light continually fall on the image, reliquaries, and all the jewels of sublime Dharma, and so making offerings to the statues, image, that represents the enlightened holy body, reliquaries or the stupas that represent the enlightened mind, and all the jewel of the sublime Dharma, the scriptural Dharma, that represent the enlightened holy speech. So basically, making an offering to all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, as well as all the objects that represent holy body, speech, and mind, with a shower of flowers and jewels and all different offerings that mentioned there. Just as mentioned, Ghoshas and others, the other 7 Bodhisattvas, worship the Jinas, the Buddhas. So do I worship the Tathagatas, the protector, together with the children, the Bodhisattvas. So then, just as the Minjashri Avalokiteshvara and other Bodhisattvas and others pay homage, respect, offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, in the same way, they're saying, I'm also going to pay homage, respect, and make offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, just like they said. And so, like like making offering, like Samanbhadras, Samanbhadras offering is like from 1 joule, it manifests 2 joules, or comes out 2 joules from 1 joule, from 2 joules, 4 joules, from 4 joules, 8, and then expand and until the whole space filled with that offerings. In the same way, each of those offerings we can think and visualize that way, expanding from 1 to limitless whole space. That way, we can try to practice the offering and to make it very extensive. Even maybe we might be offering just 1 light. In practical, maybe we might be just lighting 1 light, but then we can think from that 1 light multiply 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and like that, and the whole space filled with that. And same with the incense, same with the water, same with the flower, same with the food, same with the music, same with the perfume, all of that. You can do that and make the practice much more extensive, much more broader. And then, as Lama Subhadra Rinpoche always advised, when we make offerings with a strong faith, strong respect, by recollecting the qualities of the object to whom we are making offerings, and with a bodhicitta mind, with that kind of extensive offerings. And then you try to imagine the Buddha's Bodhisattvas accepting delightfully those offerings and generating great delight, and especially in Tantra, then cultivating a strong voidness and blissfulness. And so in Sutta, cultivating a strong wisdom and compassion. And then making prostrations, So when we talk about prostrations, then again, of course, prostration is, I already mentioned, is before, the offering is a method to antidote towards the miserliness, greediness. Prostration is an antidote for arrogance and pride. And then when we talk about prostration, there is a bodily prostration, verbal prostration, and mental prostrations. Of course, bodily prostration is when you whether you do the half prostration or full prostration, touching the 5 limbs. In terms of the verbal prostration is reciting the praise and qualities, excellent qualities of the objects, the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, and reciting that. And then mental prostrations is generating a strong faith and devotion and respect for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in this case. And so that is, so here coming to that, with the hymns, do you say hymns? Hymns. With the hymns that are sea of melodies, of course, with a beautiful, and I praise the oceans of virtues. So oceans meaning great, many excellent oceans of the virtues of those holy objects, the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, and the Dharma. And may the clouds of harmonies of the praise ascend to them in the same way. So that is verbal kind of prostration, verbally with reciting or recollecting and with the excellent qualities. And then with prostrations as numbers as the atom within the Buddha's field, about to the present Buddha present in 3 times, and to the Dharma and to the sublime assemblies. So here the Bodhisattvas, so Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So while we might be doing frustrations, whether it's a full frustration or there is half frustration, but anyway, important is to kind of touch the five, the forehead, the two hands, and the knee, and so. And then if we think, just as it is said in the King of the Prayer, if we can do that visualization, then it can be a very, in each of Adam, you visualize all the Buddhas of 10 directions and 3 times in each of Adams. And of course, there is countless Adams, numberless Adams. And in each of Adam is all of those Buddhas there. In terms of yourself, you can also visualize yourself as equal as those atoms, equal as the Buddhas. And then when you make prostration, you can think of all of those are making prostration together. And so in that way, again, we can make more. In the King of Prayer, it says, with many heads, and with each of head many tongues. That's completely scary. It's hard for me to imagine myself that with so many heads, with each many tongues, with each of them chanting all these praises, and that. Of course, that could be another way. But other way is that you can, because we have taken countless reincarnation in the past, countless rebirths in the past, so we can think all those rebirths, all these countless rebirths together with us in the human form and doing the prostration together. And so in that way, again, we can make the practice more powerful. And so, and to the Dharma, and likewise I pay homage to all the shrines and the resting place of the Bodhisattvas. So this is making paying homage, offering respect to the holy places where Buddhas have visited, where Buddha was born, especially the Buddha himself has said, about when after his death, if you visit the 4 holy places or 8 holy places, then it's almost like seeing himself. And so paying homage, respect, offering those holy places that Buddha had visited himself. Or the Bodhisattvas, like in previous Buddha, before he became a Buddha, as a Bodhisattvas, again, he had shown many deeds at different places around the world and visiting those places. So that's where it's saying, I think that is resting places of the Bodhisattvas is actually referred to that, those holy objects of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I prostrate to the preceptor and to the praiseworthy and them as well. And then of course also we prostrate paying homage to the preceptors who give out precepts and vows, different level of vows and precepts, and as well as praiseworthy adepts, thus great experts and great holy beings as well. And then, as I mentioned, in this preliminary, it's 7 limb and the refuge. So then here it comes refuge. I go for the refuge to the Buddha as far as consensus of the enlightenment. I go to the refuge to the Dharma and the community of Bodhisattvas. So taking refuge the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So again, by understanding and realizing the refuge is the actual Dharma, the Dharma is the actual refuge, and that is, wisdom realizing emptiness, or wisdom realizing emptiness directly. When you have that Dharma within yourself, then of course you are protected, and that's the actual protection. That's the actual refuge. There's no way that you can take rebirth in the lower rebirth. There's no way that you can create more karma to experience suffering and in the samsara, and also purify all the previous ones. So that, and for us, even though we don't have that refuge, at least by taking a refuge, we try to live by keeping the precepts. And so that means on the basic level, engaging in the refraining 10 non-virtuous actions, engaging in 10 virtuous actions. And if we live our life on the basis of that, then that is the one which is really going to protect yourself from rebirth and lower rebirth and all the sufferings. So that by seeing the Dharma as the actual refuge, and the Buddha as who show us the refuge, how to actualize that Dharma refuge within ourselves, like the teachers, and then the Sangha as an assistant, helper. The Sangha who have actualized Dharma within themselves, or who inspire to actualize that Dharma within themselves and follow on the same path, so that they become inspirations, encouragement, and example for us, and then also they help us. And so with that kind of realization, understanding, then we take refuge with our Sangha. With folded hand, I beseech the fully awakened one present in the all directions, and the great compassionate Bodhisattvas. And so now engaging into the practice of purifications or confessions. And so confessing means, you don't hide. You kind of declare, acknowledging all the negative karma that we have created, all the non-virtues that we have created, intentionally and unintentionally, in the past, present. And so acknowledging that, and then bear it out all in front without hiding. And through that kind of confession, then we try to do the purifications. And so if we do with the right, if we do the purification correctly, then it is said, there is no negative karma that cannot be purified. No matter how heavy negative karma that we might have created, all of them can be purified if the purification is done properly and correctly. As Nagarjuna in his precious garland, as he said, just as the moon, which has been kind of obscured by the clouds, that cloud can be kind of clear, and then you can see the full moon without any obscuration. In the same way, due to carelessness and without mindfulness, if we have created a lot of non-virtuous negative karma in the past, but now being more aware of that, but now being more mindful and careful, and by aware of that, and by knowing the practice to purify, and if we do the practice correctly, then all that can be all clear and pure, just like the clouds. And for example, he gives examples such as Angulimala, Ajanta Shatru, and Geshe, and all of them. Angulimala killed 999 people in his life before he met the Buddha and the Dharma. But later, he regretted how he met the Dharma, and then he did the purification as advised by the Buddhas, and engaged in the practice. And through that, he was able to purify, and through that, he was able to achieve, arhat even in that one lifetime. And same with Ajanta Shatru, who killed his father, king, and queen mother. Also, later he met the Dharma, and and the Buddha, and then he regretted, and again through purifications and transformation, again he was able to achieve very high realization and all of that. So giving those examples. So therefore, if they can be purified and achieve high realization in that, so Narayana is saying we all can also do that if we do correctly. So that's one thing we need to remember. And so when you do the purification or confessions, as the object of the purification or confessions is here the fully awakening one present in all time. So taking all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, compassionate Bodhisattva as objects, and then we fold that hand, then we confess and ask for forgiveness and blessing and help to purify, and then we try to do that. Whatever sin I, a brute, have committed or caused others to commit in this life and others through the beginningless cycle of existence. So confessing whatever non-virtues that I have created in the past or present in this life, as well as from the very beginning lifetime, all the negative karma that I have created, or even you have not created yourself directly, cause others to create. So even though you might not have killed, but cause others to kill. So that is, so all of that here is in without any hiding, without any sense of hiding that I'm going to bear down and pour all in front of you and acknowledge all of that. And anything in which I have deludedly rejoices, thereby harming myself. Also, not only the non-virtuous negative karma we have created and caused other to cause, but even due to delusion and ignorance, that we have rejoiced in the non-virtuous actions of others or oneself. Also, I declare them and confess them. And then translation, confession overcome by remorse, and then also all the transgressions that we might, such as breaking our vows, lay vows, pratimoksha vows, monks, nuns vows, bodhisattva vows, tantric vows, whatever different level of the precept vow that we might have broken. Also we confess, and confess. Overcome by remorse. So that is another factor for the purification to work. So for opening power, in order for the purification to be effective and powerful, the needs of for opening power, the opening power of reliance or the objects. So that is taking refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Here already explained. And generating bodhicitta mind to sentient beings, and then having a strong remorse or regret to all the non-virtuous negative karma or actions that we have created, and strong resolutions, promise not to create the same negative karma or same non-virtuous actions, and then the power of antidotes, the actual engaging into the virtues, at the actual virtuous action, any of the virtuous action in order to purify. So those are four open. So here, with that remorse, then it explains one of the how another opening power. Whatever offense I have committed out of disrespect with my body, space, and mind against the jewels, against mothers, fathers, against spiritual mentors and others. So before that, after verse number 29, is confessing general negative karma or actions and non-virtues, and here more specific negative karma or non-virtuous action that we created with a specific objects, So therefore, it's saying, in terms of the holy objects, that whatever negative karma action were committed or created out of disrespect with body, speech, and mind, or all of them against the three jewels, so the holy objects, in terms of our strong karmic connections, father and mother, against fathers and against mother and fathers. So the parent who have been most kind in upbringing us, and with whom we share a strong karmic connections, and those any karma, any negative karma we create in relation with them are much more powerful than others because of their strong karmic connections. Also, negative karma created in relation to holy object also very strong because of the incredible power of the objects, incredible excellent qualities of the objects. In case of the parent, incredible karmic connection and incredible their kindness. And as well as against spiritual matters and others. Normally there should be also for those who are, maybe it comes other verses maybe. Also for, maybe it might come other verses, or maybe also the negative karma that we create in relation to those who are most vulnerable. Also is a very strong negative karma because of their situations. So because of their situations, because they are most vulnerable, so therefore if we create negative karma in relation to that, it's more stronger than someone who is less vulnerable. And because of their situations. And so those are negative karma, more stronger negative karma. And so here, confessing specifically those negative karma. And some of them maybe we might have done in this life. Some of them we might recollect. Some of them maybe even we might have done, we cannot recollect. Even this lifetime, our memories is not so clear. And then definitely in the past, from the beginning lifetime, we have definitely created all of those negative karma, even though we cannot recollect this again. So then we try to, from the depth of our heart, whether we recollect or not recollect, but we try to confess all of that. And whatever terrible vices I, sinner, defied with the many faults, have done, O guide, I confess them all. So, due to under the control or due to being overwhelmed by one of the delusions, then all the negative karma we have created with body, speech, and mind. So, any kind of negative karma, any kind of non-virtuous action that we have here, that I'm going to confess each of them without hiding any of them. Bearing all of them in front of all objects. So, how shall I escape it? Rescue me quickly. May they not soon creep upon me before my days, the vices have vanished. So he is making a strong kind of, supplications, requests to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or Buddha and Sanghas, please help me, please rescue me quickly, please bless me, please help me, please support me to purify all of those negativities before death comes. So, as I mentioned before, for our practice to be successful, of course, it is in our hand how much how sensitive we are in our practice, how much effort we put, how much energy we put towards the practice. And many other conditions. And as I mentioned, we need every support from everywhere. And so we are requesting the support of the Holy Object, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the Gurus, to help us in our practice, in this case, to purify them. So death does not differentiate between tasks done and undone. This treasure is not to be trusted by the healthy or the ill, for it is like an unexpected great thunderbolt. So here he's saying, we should, so please help me to purify all this negative karma before the death comes, because without being able to purify all this negative karma, if the death comes first and you have been carrying all this negative karma, then when one of those negative karma seed is activated at the time of death, and then there is possible to have most likely to have a rebirth in one of the lower realms. And if we were born in one of the lower realms, not only the suffering is much more intense and the duration is long, but also the opportunity to practice Dharma is very limited. And so, practicing Dharma, even in a human life, is not easy. At least that is my experience. I don't know whether that is your experience or not. Maybe it might be easy for you. Even for me, someone like who doesn't have a family, who doesn't have all others responsibility, still practicing Dharma is not easy. And so, definitely, when you have family and many other parts of life, it becomes even more challenging. So, if it's not easy in a human life, when you have met the Dharma, when you have met the qualified Gurus, teachers, when we know the Dharma a little bit, what chances are there when you don't understand the Dharma, when you don't meet the Dharma, even in human realms? What chances are there? Very little chances to really practice. And then, if you're born in one of the Lord, and the chances become much more less. You can see with the animals how much chances they have to really work with their mind, to reduce their negative karma, to stop creating new negative karma. So therefore, if it is already difficult in that, then definitely it is going to be much more challenging if we are born in one of the Lord. And so therefore, we want to purify before the death comes. And so, but the problem is, I think we all more or less know that, practice, purify, and practice before the death comes. But we always think that we still have a lot of time waiting out there for us, I will retire, then I will have all this plenty of time, and then I can dedicate myself to study, practice. These are our pictures. At the moment, I don't have the time. Maybe let me spend more time on this and that, but I will be able to find more time in the future. But here it's saying that could be very, very deceiving, misleading. That could be very, very misleading and deceiving, just as it has deceived many people in the past. Even Dharma people who knew Dharma and they thought, I will find the time later to do that. And before they find the time to practice, boom, they come from nowhere, unexpected. Suddenly, they never found time to really practice. And they were just thinking about ourselves. They would find the time, and they were planning that, to do more practice. So here is time of death is so uncertain. Time of death is so uncertain. The death is certain, definite. But when it is going to come, that is so uncertain. And so here the death does not wait whether task is done or not undone. The death will not wait because you have not practiced it. It will not wait until you have planned to practice, and then they say, okay, I will wait until you finish your practices. Or even in other ordinary activities, That does not wait because your project is not finished. Doesn't make that distinction. Whether your project is finished or your project is not finished, whether your project has been started or not started, it doesn't differentiate. It could come anytime, any moment. If you differentiate and if you wait until the project is finished, then we can plan that way. Until the task is finished. And then until all the things are taken care of, and then we can have more time to practice. If that happens, then definitely we can plan that way. But here he is saying that could be very, very deceiving. And so because it could come any time. Another thing deceiving is for we think, well, age is my side. Health is on my side. I'm young, I'm healthy. But here again saying that death does not make that kind of differentiation either. It doesn't differentiate because you are younger, then you have more time. Because you are older, it doesn't always that way. Young dies before older ones. Same with healthy and someone who is unhealthy who have had a sickness for a long time. Someone who is very healthy could die much more earlier than someone who has had health issue for many years. So here is like a thunderbolt, lightning. One moment, boom, from nowhere. From nowhere, boom, and that's it. So therefore, what he's saying, don't wait with that kind of postponing and planning to do in the future. Instead, you should start doing purifications immediately now. Because you never know when the death is going to come. It could come any moment. And so thinking that age is my side, health is on my side, all of them can be misguiding. misleading, deceiving. So, I have committed various vices for the sake of friends and enemies. This I have not recognized. Leaving everyone behind, I must pass away. So, he is saying, we create a lot of negative karma, non-virtuous actions for the sake of friends, family, and so forth, and towards enemy, and so forth. But while we leave everyone behind, our friends, families, enemy, all of them, but we take away all the negative karma we have created, all the non-virtuous action we have created. There's no differentiating, oh, you created that for your family, so therefore I give you exception. Or you did that for your friends, therefore there's exceptions. Nothing like that. Negative karma, that are non-virtuous action that we have created, for whoever that we did, doesn't matter. If you have created, it's negative karma, it's non-virtuous actions, and you will experience the consequences of that. So it's saying that don't think that I will not experience the consequences because I did for my family. Because I think sometimes we might think, oh, I didn't do for myself, I did for someone else. So, not recognizing that, we create that, but then we will be carrying all this negative karmic imprint and experience the consequences, and that we will regret later. And so, therefore, understanding that, with that realization, then not trying to create negative karma for the sake of anyone. So that's what he's saying. My enemy will not remain, nor will my friend remain. I shall not remain, nothing will remain. So he is saying, why do we create so much negative karma in relation with the enemy? Because they are going to die, there will be no more in the world. Why do we create for the sake of our friends so many negative karma for the sake of our friends? They are not going to be there for forever. They will be also die. They will not be remaining there. Why do you create so much negative karma? Because you yourself is not going to be there for long. You yourself is not going to last forever. You yourself will be gone, die, come. Everyone will die. Everyone who has been born will die. So when everything is yourself, your enemy, your friends, when all of them are going to die, all of them not going to last, all of them not going to remain forever, why we do discriminate, and on the basis of that, why do we create so much negative karma? So reflect and contemplate in that way can be helpful to minimize creating more negative karma, and to see meaningless of creating such a engaging in such a harmful, negative, and non-virtuous actions towards someone for sake of someone. Whatever is experienced will fade into a memory, like experience in a dream. Everything that is past will not be seen again. And so here is saying we create a lot of negative karma because of being, attached. Because of being attached to different objects, external, internal objects, experiences, and so forth. So here is saying, why do we create so much non-virtuous, negative karma and actions due to being so attached to certain objects, experience and so forth. All of them, we cannot carry away. We all have to leave everything behind. At the time of death, it's just a memory. At the time of death, it's just a flash of memories. Everything that you did. All the experiences, all the pleasant experiences, unpleasant experiences, everything that we have experienced in all our life, at the moment of death, is just a memory, a flash of memory, like a flash of memory. So then, on the basis of that, why we get so upset and angry when we experience some unpleasant objects? Why we get so attached and clinging and grasping when we encounter certain pleasant objects, attractive objects? Because all of them, and experience in relation to experience, and then they are just like a moment. So to understand that it's all just momentary. So why would I? It's like reminding us, why should I create so much negative karma for that moment of experience like that? In a way, everything's like that. Just a moment like that. Is it worthwhile? Basically, saying this is worthwhile. Creating so much negative karma and engaging in such harmful actions for an experience of that moment like this. Again, everything's relative. Of course, everything's relative. When we think from the point of view of time, even when we think about 100 years of life seems long, but if you look at within the context of the life or the time, it's just like a moment like this. When we talk of billions and billions of years in the evolutions, and of course time goes much more further, countless. We cannot and so in the context of all this time, 100 life is just like a moment like this also. So here is saying, also to understand that what can be helpful. Why should we create so much negative karma? Being attached to the experience of this moment like that. So is it worthwhile? So that is. So at the time of death, everything that we have experienced through our life, they all are gone. They will not arise again, and they are just in the memory, like in a dream. And then even in this life, as I have stood by, many friends and enemies have passed away, but terrible sin induced by them remain ahead of me. And so, it is saying, if we look even in this life, we all have some experience, where we have lost our friends. Some of us have lost not only friends, but close members of family as well. And of course, also people whom we have difficulties, whether you call it enemy or not, but someone you have a conflict difficulties. Also, we have seen some of them pass away. But all the negative karma that we have created in relation with them They are gone, they are no more in the world, but all the negative karma that we have created in relation to them still ahead in us. They are gone, but negative karma that we have created in relation to them have not gone. So we are still carrying all the imprint of those negative karma. And therefore, carrying the potential to experience more pain and suffering in the futures. Thus, I have not considered that I am ephemeral. What does that mean? Transcend. Okay. Thus, I have not considered that I am a temporary transcend. Due to delusion, attachment, hatred, I have seen in many ways. So due to not understanding that this impermanent transitory, due to not understanding that it's just like our life is just like a moment. Our life is just like a moment. Our experience of just like a moment. Not recognizing, not understanding that, and then grasping and holding our life as permanent, as though it is going to be lasting forever. Due to that, then we create a lot of negative karma. Because we think our life is going to be long, therefore I need this and that and all of that. So we're attached to all of that. If we understand it momentary, probably we will not feel that way. Due to thinking my life is going to be long, therefore, when you see someone might engage in certain actions that could bring me harm, or that might create losing of my success, my happiness, all of that, and then we get angry and upset. And due to that, we create negative karma. All of that because of this strong grasping and holding that we will live for long, sense of permanent, not understanding that it's like a momentary. And that, so we create so much negative karma and then carrying all of them. So in that way, we have created so many negative karma in so many different ways. Day and night, life spent unceasingly diminish, and there is no adding on to it. Shall I not die then? And so thinking, that life is very short. Life is not going to be long. Life is short and getting shorter and shorter. Year by year, month by month, week by week, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second. It does not stop for a moment. Each moment we are getting closer and closer to this final destination of the death. So, whatever lifespan we have according to our karma, we cannot add more to that. And whatever we have is decreasing, diminishing more, moment by moment. And so therefore, why would not that come so quickly? So reflect and contemplate. If we really contemplate, then we can see, that it's not too far away. We can see it's not too far away, it's close. If you feel it's not too far away, it's close, then, we'll put more effort in our practice. When we think that is not close, is far away, we keep on postponing. And then one day, we get caught up by surprise, shock, unprepared. Although lying here on the bed and relying on the relative, I alone have to bear the feeling of being cut off from my vitality, So at the time of death, in case of more natural death, you are dying at the bed, and all the relatives surrounding you, and even though they have compassion, love, care, even though they want to share your suffering, your burdens, all of that, even they want to share, they can't share it. They can't experience. They cannot reduce your pain. Whatever pain that you are taking, that you yourself, the fear, the pain of being cut off, being separated, all of that you have experienced yourself. Even they want to share it, even they want to do that, they can't. You yourself have to experience that. And same with all the consequences of negative karma. Even our friends, families want to, even from their heart, even they want to take all the burden on themselves and they experience what, but it's impossible. We ourselves have to experience for the action that we have created or committed. And so therefore, with that understanding, then we try to stop creating more negative karma. For a person seized by a messenger of death, what good is a relative and what good is a friend? At that time, merit alone protection. I have not applied myself with. So at the time of death, what really helps us at the time of death and after the death is only our Dharma practice. Only our Dharma practice. That is the only protection, the Dharma practice. The positive imprint, the potential imprint that we have created within our mind stream. At the time of death, after the death, our family, friend cannot do much. Our wealth cannot do anything. We leave everything behind, including our body. We leave everything behind. So at the time of death, none of those can be any help. If there is any help that can help us, it's our Dharma practice. If we have some good Dharma practice, that will help us to be more calm, peaceful at the time of death. Less struggle, less fear, less regret. So we can have more peaceful death. And after the death, so that we can continue to have higher rebirth, continue to practice. So it is only our practice that can help. And it's only our practice that can help during the time of our life and at the time of death, after the death. Friends, relatives, they are not always sure they will be helpful even at the time when you are alive. Sometimes they can be the most difficult ones. There is no guarantee. But the Dharma practice is something you can rely on while you are alive, at the time of death, after the death. And so therefore, with that understanding, then we should put more effort and find more time to practice the true protector. All protectors are negligent and unaware of this danger and have acquired many vices out of attachment in this transcendent life. And so, because of not understanding the faults and disadvantage and all of that, then being attached to this life, and we create so much negative karma. Carrying all those negative karma karmic imprint, and then again experience more suffering in the future. One completely languished while being led to the limbs of one body, imputed, purged with thirst and with pitiable eyes, one sees the world differently. So here he's saying, when someone is taken in that way, so of course, then they see the world differently than when they are not taken away to be cut their limbs, see the world differently. And so also same way, at the time that we might see the world differently than with the way we see the world at the moment. Because we are not faced with that reality at the moment, we think, oh. But when you're faced with that reality of the face, death, when death is in front of you, when you are experiencing the death, then you might see the world very differently. At that moment, you see all uselessness of all these things. When you are in the face of death, when you're at the moment of death, and you see uselessness of all this wealth, uselessness of all these friends, relatives, uselessness of all of that, and you don't see so much attached to that. You wouldn't have so attached to that, thinking to that, which is different at the moment. We can't see that. It seems we need all of that, and we're very attached to that. It's just like that. It's an example. So that is why how much more is one overpowered by a horrifying appearance or message of death as one is consumed by the fever of terror and smell with a mass of excitement, And so at the time of death, especially when our negative karma is very strong, and then it can manifest in certain appearance and visions of seeing horrible things. And then when you see that horrible visions and horrible things, then you started to become like that, terror. With distress, cleanse, I seek protection in the 10 directions, which good person would be my protection from this great fear. And so we try to, at that moment, when we were filled with a lot of fear because of this, terror, horrible appearance and the visions and all of that, then frightened by such fear and appearances, then you try to seek protection from all directions, who might be able to help me, protect me from that fear, from that appearance, and so forth. Seeing the 4 directions devoid of protection, I return to confusion. What shall I do in a state of great fear? And then still you cannot find any protections, unable to find protections, and then that makes you even more fearful, even more distress. And then you find no way to reduce your fear, and that to protect you from that fear. And so at that time it's too late. It's basically saying at that time it's too late. At the time of death, even you regret, and even you want to purify, and even you want to change, and it's almost like too late by that time. The time is not there. Time is not on your side. So we should start to practice now, purify and hold our practice now, so that you don't end up being like that at the time of death. So then you can die peacefully. I've done everything that I should do, or I've tried all my best. Less regret, less fear, less anxiety. because you have prepared yourself while you had the time, while you are still alive. And so therefore here, right now I go for refuge to the protector of the world, whose power is great, to the jinas, who strive to protect the world and who eliminate every fear. So now, before we are already in that state, from now on, then we should try to take refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and to the Buddhas, the protectors, and through that, who always, out of great compassion, loving kindness, always strive for the benefit of all sentient beings, and out of great wisdom and skillful means will help us to show the path, the way to overcome those fear, worry, and anxiety, and all of those. And so it's not late at the moment. And so we have to try now. Likewise, I earnestly go for refuge to the Dhamma that is mastered by the Buddhas, who have actualized this exalted wisdom, and that annihilates the fear of cyclic existence. And that Dharma is the one which I mentioned before, who protect us from the cyclic existence of samsara. That is the one who really protects us. And to the assembly of Bodhisattva as well. So the Sangha, the Arya Sangha of Bodhisattvas. So taking refuge with the Dhamma Sangha. Trembling with the fear, I offer myself to Samambhadra, and my own way I offer myself to Manjushri. And so, with that, by recognizing and understanding the nature of samsara and the suffering of samsara, and with that, then we offer ourselves to the Samambhadra, Manjushri, and such as, and the other the Bodhisattvas. Terrified, I utter. Okay. So I will stop here. Yeah. So, well, we did quite well. Almost finished the second chapter in one session. So, anyway, so we do the dedications. So, due to all the virtues, oneself and others are created in 10 times, may oneself achieve fully enlightenment and lead all sentient beings to fully enlightenment. Yavadi nyodota ama sangye dogyone doa chikya marepa we also dedicate oneself and all sentient beings to actualize the Bodhisattva mind and wisdom realizing emptiness as quick as possible. And those who have already actualized, not diminish, but increase more and more. Chancho sencho rinpoche, make panake kyoche, kewa nyamba me payam, konle kondo kewa. We also dedicate for the long life of His Holiness Dalai Lama, Kelly Lama, Sabbath, all the gurus and the holy beings, and all their wishes to be fulfilled. Kare rave bove shinkam de, pendam dewa madri chungwene, chere sewa tenje jatori, shape site patu tenjo chi, tutu chanshin chamben jave, ten pere kunso topo, choson kuwe le motu jo, pada sodu je kundu shate shu. Thank you very much. Thank you.